From last week's episode, you got the mindset. Now it's time to build the blueprint. Today's episode, we're going to give you the exact strategy you need to take your vision and turn it into results. Whether it's scaling your business, growing your wealth, or achieving personal goals, strategy is the key to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to go. If you feel like you're constantly busy but there's no progress, this is the one for you. Let's go ahead and get to it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Success Spectrum Podcast. I'm your host, Kadeem McLean, and today we are talking about turning your vision into results. So we're going to go ahead and give you the blueprint. And one of the issues here is a lot of us have goals, dreams, desires, but we don't really have a strategy on how to accomplish or achieve those goals, dreams, or desires. And that's one of the big gaps here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is that strategy gap, because vision without action, at the end of the day, that's just daydreaming. And how can you take action if you don't have a strategy? So let's go ahead and get to it. The difference between somebody who is a goal setter versus a goal achiever is, again, the action plan. You can have great goals. You can have very refined goals, very detailed. But at the end of the day, you are not really going to take action on those goals without an action plan, because your action plan tells you every day, every month, every week, this is what I need to do to accomplish this goal that I have. So both are setting good goals, but the goal achiever is the one that actually has the action plan to help them go towards their goals and achieve their goals. You can set goals all you want. You're not going to achieve those goals unless you have an action plan behind those goals. Every day, I need to do X, Y, and Z to get to that goal. Every week, every month to get to that goal, right? So the action plan is important here. And that's built into your strategy, of course. Why most people overplan and underachieve, or under-execute rather, is because if you're like me, you're an overplanner. I overplan, I over-strategize, and I take care of all the back-end work instead of actually going out in the front and doing the client work or the hands-on work, the things that are going to get me the tangible results, the revenue-generating activities. And if you're like me, you understand and you sympathize, because that's an overplanner. And in reality, we need to move from over planning and start executing, because most of us over plan and under execute. But if we move out of that and we start to execute, then of course it's going to help us to achieve those goals that we just talked about, right? So instead of just thinking, oh, I need all the ducks to be in a row, nothing will be perfect. Nothing. There will be no perfect plan. There will be no perfect strategy. At the end of the day, a perfect strategy without any execution is nothing. It's meaningless. If you have a decent plan, a subpar plan, and you take action on that, you will get better results. Because with the perfect plan, even though there is no perfect plan, but with the great plan and no action, there's no results. You have a great plan, but what action is being taken? There's no results. If you have a subpar plan, a good plan, a decent plan, if you put action towards it, yes, you will get results. Better results than if you had a great plan. So again, let's break out of that over planning and under executing and start executing with whatever plan we have. Whether it's subpar, whether it's okay, it's good, it's decent, take action on it, because that is the only way to really tell if that is a good plan or not. It's to take action and see if it works. So let's break out of that. Now, there's three big mistakes that we make when we do strategize, for those of us who do have a strategy. One of them is the lack of clarity in your strategy, in your vision, and your goals. And that leads to vague results. When I first started my previous job, as an example, 5+ years ago, I told myself 3 to 5 years and I'll get a better position, whatever the case is. And that ultimately led to me, and I defined it and I refined it over time, because within the past 2 years, I'd say, I said, okay, by 34, these are some things that I'm 32 now, but by 34, these are some things that I got to accomplish. Family goals, financial goals, spiritual goals, business goals, and so on. I set certain things in place, and I said to myself, okay, in order to achieve that, there's these things I got to do, but what is my next step? And the next step would be to find a job where I can work remote, paying me more money, doing a little bit less work, a little bit less of a workload. Guess what? I found that opportunity. There's less stress, there's a little bit less workload, higher pay, and I can work remote. How did I find that opportunity? Nothing but God, for the most part. I refined it. I decided on what I wanted, exactly what I was going for, and I took the steps necessary to get me to that position. So again, lack of clarity is something where if you don't refine it, and I can tell you some other stories about other people who didn't refine their goals, who didn't refine what they were going after, and they got exactly what they asked for. I want a job closer to home. They got a job closer to home, but now they have to do certain things they don't like to do or want to do because their only requirement was a job closer to home in their field. So they got that, but are they happy with it? No, because they didn't refine or define these other areas. So lack of clarity is important. No action plan, as we talked about. You need to have an action plan. Without daily steps, it doesn't matter how great your idea is, because great ideas will stall and fail without action behind it, because there's no results, as we already talked about. And the third part to this, in terms of the big mistakes that we make with our strategy, is analysis paralysis. We overanalyze all the data. Guess what? That's only doing something negative for you. That's not helping you. What do you need to analyze everything for? Go ahead and take action. Overthinking kills progress. There is no progress if you're sitting there and overthinking. Overthinking just leads you to sitting there and it's wasted time. Yes, it is important to think, but once you have this plan and you know what action needs to be taken, and you maybe thought about it once or twice, take action. That's the reason you have the plan, the strategy. You know what needs to be done. Go ahead and do it. Don't sit there and overthink, but what if this, what if that, or what if they don't, or what if they tell me no? Take action. We'll find out on the other side, right? Deal with that beast when you come to it. But if you're sitting there trying to see 10 steps ahead, you won't know what's going to happen 10 steps ahead if you don't take the first 9 steps. So trying to figure out what's going to happen on that 10th step, it's wasted time, wasted effort. You didn't take step 1, 2, 3 up to 9. So why are you worried about step 10? Take step 2, take step 1 rather. Then 2, then 3, and so on. Worry about 10 when you get there. So those are some of the ways that we fail to make the correct strategy. But in order to make the correct strategy or a good strategy, we got to talk about building a strategy that works. So define your vision clearly, right? Clearly define your vision. Clarity is important, as we already talked about. Where do you want to be in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, in the next 10? What type of life do you want to live? Where do you want to live? What type of house? What type of, your family? Are you married? Do you have kids? How many kids? And what schools are they going to? Private, public, Catholic, whatever the case might be. Define it. What are your hobbies? What are you doing regularly? What can help you to define this is the perfect day exercise. If I were to ask you, what does a perfect day look like for you? What time do you get up? Right? Who do you wake up beside? Is it your kids running into the room that are waking you up? Are you waking up and going to check on your kids in their rooms? Are they sleeping? Are they awake? Do you go brush your teeth and then pray or read or meditate? Do you go straight to the gym and start working out? Is the gym in your home? Where is the gym? Is it around the corner? Is it 5 minutes? Do you come home now and you meet with higher level mentality people who are vibrating on a high frequency like yourself? What are you doing for work? What kind of meetings are you having? What do you eat for breakfast? Define your perfect day. What does it look like? Do you spend time with the family and the kids after work or before work? Do you bring your kids to school, then come home and do more work? Do you work from home? Do you work somewhere else? Your perfect day. What does it look like? Clarity is important. Define it. And that perfect day exercise, what does a perfect day look like for you? Define it. Help put that into your vision, into your strategy. And then, as I said on the previous episode, of course, that identity shift needs to happen. But in terms of your vision and your strategy, what do you need to do to help you get to that perfect day? Can you start implementing some of those things right now? That perfect day that you talked about, are you reading? And if so, can you start reading right now? You might not be reading as much as you would read in that perfect day example, but you can read 1 page today. You can read 5 pages. Instead of reading 40 pages like on a perfect day, you can start somewhere to build up to that, because that can now give you your action plan when you reverse engineer it. Speaking about reverse engineer, this is another step in building the correct blueprint for yourself, right? That perfect day exercise. When you look at your bank account that day, if you do, how much is in there? What's the income? What's the revenue? Because that will help you to determine what goals you are going after, of course, right? And then when you look at that, like I said with the reading example, if you want to be reading 40 pages a day on that perfect day example, how much can you start reading daily, regularly, consistently right now? If it's 5, great. Start there. Start with reading 5. Because when you read that 5, you will often read more than the 5. You might only read the 5, but at least you hit that mark. You start from 5, you build upward. But it helps you to reverse engineer. So if your perfect day example is, let's say, 5 years down the line, or rather, let's say 5 years down the line, and you're reading 50 pages a day, okay, by the end of this year, you need to be reading 10 pages a day, because then the next year you're reading 20, and then 30, and then 40, and then 50 on that fifth year, as an example. Same thing with money. But instead of just yearly, of course, you want to break it down to monthly and to daily, weekly, and daily. Even when it comes to money, right? You want to earn 100,000 a month, let's say, in 3 years. Okay. What are you at right now? What do you need to do, again, yearly, monthly, weekly, and daily to achieve that goal? Break it down to the ridiculous. Because when you break it down to the ridiculous, you can say, okay, it's not such a big feat. It's small. Because 100,000 a month might seem like a lot. But when you break it down to daily or weekly, it's not as big of a number, so it's more digestible. So again, break it down to the ridiculous, reverse engineer that goal, and that'll help you to, again, implement your strategy. One of the reasons I keep talking about those daily activities is because we need to have a daily system, and that should be our focus versus this big goal. Yes, we know the goal and we're going after it, and it's important to know and maybe keep top of mind, but those daily activities, the daily system, is what is vital and important. Because without accomplishing these daily activities, we will never reach that goal, that big goal. That big goal is important, but without the daily activities, we will never reach it. All right. So what are the daily activities that are leading you to that big goal? Those small, consistent actions. That's what's important here. And you can even do something called habit stacking. If your goal, again, as an example, is to drink, 3 bottles of water. Your goal is to drink 3 bottles of water. You don't start there. To drink more water in a day. You don't start there. You start by, you can do habit stacking as an example. You eat breakfast every day. Most people do, so you probably do. Before you eat breakfast, because that's a habit, it's something you do every single day in the morning before you leave for work or whenever. Instead of eating first, right before you eat, drink a glass of water. And then eventually maybe start drinking a bottle of water, right? 500 liters or whatever the case, milliliters rather. Implement it somehow and stack it on top of your current habits. That's called habit stacking. So you eat breakfast regularly. You want to drink more water because you're not drinking enough water. Drink a cup of water before breakfast. And then guess what you can do? Drink a cup of water before lunch. Drink a cup of water before dinner. And then if you have a snack or whatever the case is at nighttime, drink a cup of water before your snack at night. And then, of course, you can evolve that into drink a bottle before breakfast, drink a bottle before lunch, drink a bottle before dinner. And now you're getting closer to that goal of drinking 3 bottles, or that is that goal actually, of drinking 3 bottles per day, right? So again, habit stacking is something we can implement here into that daily system to help us to get closer to that goal that we have, that vision. And I want to take a moment to just kind of pause here because the daily system is so important. However, I don't want us to lose sight of certain things because a lot of times we might get overwhelmed with people telling us to accomplish that goal, to do that. For example, if you want to get healthy or get healthier, I should say, there's so many different things you can do, right? You can drink more water, you can eat better, you can stop eating the junk that you're eating, you can drink less junk, juice, pop, whatever the case might be. And of course, exercise. Whether that's going to the gym or a walk outside or doing some push-ups or whatever the case might be, there's so many different options. However, we want to do all of this. However, we're not going to do all of it at once. If you are, great, good for you. Hopefully you stick with it. But the majority of people are not going to do all 5 of those things and stick to it starting from day one. So instead of worrying about that big thing, again, break it down to the ridiculous. So instead of, like I said with the water example, drinking so much at once, start small. Instead of going to the gym for an hour every day, go to the gym for 10 minutes a day, or rather maybe even start with a walk. Go for a walk for 5 minutes a day. And then if not that, okay, maybe eat a little bit less junk food. Maybe drink a little bit more water. Maybe drink a little bit less pop and juice and sugary drinks. Maybe, again, that exercise thing, like I said, maybe go to the gym, let's say, for 30 minutes or 20 minutes a day. Maybe join one of those classes that they have, those yoga classes or aerobics or whatever the case is that they have for whatever offering they have at your gym, right? They might have different classes, self-defense, whatever the case might be. Now, instead of trying to tackle all 5 of these things at the same time, if you break it down and go for one at a time, and then eventually build on it over time, It'll be easier, more digestible. And again, don't try to do all 5 of them at once, but start with one, maybe do that for a few weeks, then add another one, right? So you start drinking a little bit more water, start drinking a little bit less juice. Automatically, honestly, you're probably going to stop drinking a little bit less sugary drinks. Start eating a little drinking rather, a little less sugary drinks once you start drinking more water because you're not as thirsty. And then, of course, start cutting back on the junk food, and then start eating healthier foods and start exercising more. So again, one thing kind of leads to the next, but you don't have to do it all at once. You can build on it over time. And you can translate that into business, of course, into some other personal goal you might have, or into finances. So I just wanted to break that down for you quickly. But next, I want to talk to you about scaling in these different areas, right? Business, finance, and personal growth, and in life, I should say. When it comes to business, we got to understand that we need to create a system and automate growth. A business without a system isn't really a business. We need to have a system in place, right? The best systems, or rather the best businesses, have great systems. So when we put a system in place, it'll allow us to not only work harder, but work smarter at the same time, because both are important. But instead of just hustling, wow, I was singing the song just now. Instead of just hustling, you want to have a system in place where your efforts aren't in vain, because the more effort you're putting in, the more, of course, you're putting it into the system, and the system is going to make sure that you're working on efficiency. So instead of 50% of your efforts when you're just working hard going to waste, now 80% is bringing some type of results because you have a good system in place, as an example, right? So working harder only takes you so far. Let's put a system in place, because that is what helps us with sustainability and efficiency. Automate recurrent tasks such as emails, payments, and scheduling, and outsource low value tasks. And I want to focus on this because you want to outsource low value tasks that, of course, anybody else can do. That way you can focus on scaling, because you are, let's say, the product or the solution, whatever the case might be. You are the visionary. So you can focus on scaling the business and hand off the admin work. Let's say you didn't start a business to do admin work. So hand off the admin work to somebody else, a VA, a personal assistant, a family member to start for now, because you may not have the money to put out, whatever the case might be. And that will allow you to utilize the 80-20 rule, because 80% of your results come from about 20% of your business. So if you focus in on that 20% and you aim to increase that, you can bring and increase that 80% results to something bigger. Only 20% of your business is responsible for 80% of your results. So if you hone in on it, you can blow up your business, you can scale, you can do better, of course, with that system in place, right? So focus on that 20%, because that's what brings you the 80% results. Of course, you have to identify that first. So identify the top products or services that you have in your business and hone in on those, focus in on those, right? Double down your efforts on them. Scaling when it comes to your finances, there's something called the wealth formula, right? The wealth building formula, rather. And this is where you earn, you save, you invest, and you repeat. Simple. So everything you earn, of course, you want to make sure you save, you want to make sure you invest, and you want to make sure you also repeat the process, which is important. Consistency, right? Understand that investing is where wealth multiplies. Saving is where essentially, how can I say this? Money goes stale, right? So you do need to save a portion, emergency fund, right? If that's part of your strategy. And then, of course, invest the rest, because you don't want to save all of your dollars because it's going down in value thanks to inflation, the cost of goods and services rising over time. That's why we need to invest a portion of it, because that's where wealth multiplies. Invest it, because you will not become wealthy saving. You got to become wealthy investing, and of course, building your business and so on, but investing. So again, take that into consideration and create multiple streams of income. So don't just do your side hustle. Don't just do real estate. Don't just do stocks or passive income. Diversify, right? Diversify yourself, because, for example, I know somebody who, I don't want to put him on blast like that, but I know somebody, one of my friends, who he'll be on the podcast soon as well. How can I put it? He's a serial entrepreneur. He is invested in so many different businesses, so many different sectors, so many different, let's say, stocks and commodities. And at the end of the day, it has helped him to amass his wealth. He's not just invested in one thing, he has diversified into many different areas. He didn't start with many different areas. He started from one place to and then branched off to two and then three and then so on. But again, breaking it down like that, diversifying is important, because what happens if that real estate company that you have or the real estate market has a bad year, right? Then what? What happens if somebody sues your real estate company because you only have one company and you have all of your properties under that one company? Then what? So again, diversify and build multiple streams of income. Of course, that passive income is vital and important as well, because it's work that you don't have to do to get the money for. You did it once and you get paid on it multiple times. Long-term investing is important. We got to have a long-term investment mindset. And dollar cost averaging comes into play here. We don't want to invest once. We want to invest periodically, consistently, but periodically. So every 2 weeks, every month, I wouldn't say less than that, right? At least every month, but every 2 weeks or every week, however often. We want to make sure we are investing when it comes to the market or some other things as well. But typically when it comes to the market, dollar cost average, because what that's doing is ideally it's helping you to reduce your risk and increase your potential gains. Dollar cost average, DCA for short. And dollar cost averaging helps you to focus on time in the market versus timing the market, because most of us are not day traders. Most of us do not want to watch markets and try to see what's going on in the news, to see which country is doing what, and to see which stocks are going to fall or increase. I'm just going to dollar cost average. I don't have time for it. I don't have the energy for it. It's not my forte. I don't really care to do all of that. For you who do, that's great. But most of us don't. So for those of you who don't, I'm talking to you right now, dollar cost averaging and focus on time in the market versus timing the market. Scaling for your personal growth. You want to optimize time, energy, and relationships. You can use the time management framework, which is to prioritize high impact activities, such as those that give you the greatest return for your health, your relationships, and your personal growth. Those are what you want to focus on. You can use time blocking as an example, right? Block out sections of time to only do this activity. If it's working out, block out this time every day to work out, or 3 to 4 times a week to specifically to work out. You've blocked your time to specifically do that thing. You want to focus on your health. Block that time to focus on your health, which of course implements, or the gym portion, the working out portion I just mentioned ties into that. Relationships, block out that time. Nope, can't do it. Someone asks you to come outside to go grab dinner or whatever the case. Nope, this is my family time. Not happening. You know that. I've told you this before. This is my family time. It's not happening, right? Or if it is that friend time, okay, great. Yeah, let's go. I'm down. Let's go for dinner. Let's go for lunch, whatever the case might be, right? Let's go bowling. And then of course, personal growth. Block out that time in the morning, let's say, whenever is best for you, to visualize, to meditate, to pray, to focus on yourself, to ask yourself questions, to reflect on yourself, the day, the week, the month, your year, and to see if you're on track to becoming that person you want to be. Whatever it is that you want to do in this personal growth area or time block, you can do it. So again, take another look at your affirmations, or this is maybe where you read your affirmations. So time blocking is a great strategy to help you scale in terms of your personal growth, to optimize time and to, build those relationships and your energy and so on. And mental health and emotional energy is important. And this helps you with that, because once you block your time, you don't necessarily have to feel bad telling people, no, I don't have time for that right now. I'm unable to do that, or just straight up no, because no is a full sentence. No, I cannot come out right now. No, right? Because you got this thing going on. And if it's a family member or friend, they can know, or should know, once you've told them, this time every week is blocked for this. So I love you, but don't ask me to do anything else outside of what I'm doing right now for my family during those times during the week. All right, cool. But that helps you, again, to avoid burnout and incorporating recovery activities like exercise, meditation, and different hobbies you have. Because again, that personal growth area, maybe that time block you created, you can be utilizing those things there. When it comes to your relationship health, in terms of the personal, the life area here that we're talking about, scaling it, Of course, you want to make sure that you build a network of positive people around you, like-minded individuals, not just positive, because there is something called toxic positivity, and we don't want that. But like-minded people, growth-oriented people who can uplift you and bring you up. They might be pulling you up some days. Some days you might be pulling them up. So it is a give and take. And at the end of the day, one of the things I always say is make sure you are the one that's giving 51%, and they think that they're getting so much from you, but they're also the ones maybe giving 51%, and you feel like you're getting so much where you just give more. It's a generosity war, if you will. Again, build that network of supportive people around you, that supportive network, and minimize or completely remove toxicity, whether it's people who drain your energy, or environments that drain your energy, or things that drain your energy, right? So negative and toxic influences, remove those or minimize them as much as possible. And the last thing in terms of turning your vision into results is we've got to take a look at the avoiding plateaus, because when you're growing, you're going up, there will be plateaus, flat growth. So no growth, plateaus. There's nothing happening. There's no growth happening. You're staying the same as you were yesterday, the year before, and you notice nothing's really changing. Your actions aren't changing. Your growth isn't changing. The revenue's not changing. The business is not growing or scaling. There's something called the law of diminishing returns. And what that says is after the initial success, there will be that plateau. Growth often slows. And that's where many people either quit the business or they stop doing what they've been trying to do. They say, forget it, it's not working. That's because they've reached the flat land. It's no longer a rocket. They've reached the flat land now. And it can continue to grow, but you will hit that for a period of time, that plateau. So how do you break through it? Well, you can innovate, come up with new products, new strategies, try something different, change something in your solution that you're offering to clients, or the thing that you're doing, iterate it a little bit, or tap into a new market, invest in new skills or mentors. This is something else that you can do to help to break through that plateau, because the skills you have now got you to where you are, which is great. The mentors you have now got you to where you are, which is great, but maybe they're not helping you get to that next stage. So get new mentors, not necessarily saying replace them, but you can get more mentors. And again, surround yourself with those people who uplift you, because one of them might end up being that ear, or rather that voice that you needed in your life to help you break through that plateau. So again, invest in new skills, new mentors, try different products, services, iterate, try a new market, and that will ultimately help you to break through. There's also something called your KPIs. And this is something we need to track, because it's important to realize that when we're turning our vision into reality and we're taking these steps, there are metrics that we need to track. Otherwise, how do we know if we're on track? We won't know if we're on track if we're not tracking something. There's metrics, right? If it's not measured, there's no growth, because you don't know that growth happened because you didn't measure anything. So we got to make sure we track these key performance indexes, or indicators rather, KPIs. And in business, those could be your sales, those could be your customer retention, your return on investment for marketing that you're doing. In finance, that could be your net worth growth, of course, your savings rate, your investment rate. And in personal growth, that could be your fitness levels, right? How much water are you drinking? How many times are you going to the gym, and so on? They could be your mental health markers, because that's important. We don't want to forget about that. You want to spend time on high value activities, right? So measure how much time you spend on high value activities. So again, these are some of the KPIs that we can use to see if we're on track and to make sure we stay on track, and to really see how much effort we're putting into each area. Come up with an accountability system. Join a mastermind, a mentorship, a peer group. This creates a space for growth conversations. You might not have growth conversations with your friends, your family, so put yourself in an environment where those conversations can happen. And then hopefully, ultimately, create that environment for your friends and your family. But first, you need to know what that environment is like. So join an environment, and then you can create it for your friends and your family. Conduct self-assessments. So every 30 days, you can do a review that sees whether or not you're on track. Is it working? Is it not working? Do I need to iterate and change something, or can I continue doing what I'm doing because there's still great growth? So again, that's the accountability system, an example of what you can build around yourself. And what you're doing there is you're building a system around yourself, of course, and you're leveraging the people around you. What you can also do with this accountability system, when you're having that check-in, that self-check-in, that self-audit, is you can do a mindset check-in, which is to remind yourself rather, Are you growing or are you staying stagnant? Because there is no in between. We used to say in business, you're either growing or you're dying. I know it sounds morbid, but you're either growing or you're staying stagnant. There is no in between. So figure that out, do that self-assessment, do that self-check-in, that accountability system, and that mindset check-in. So I want to remind you, success is simple, but it's not easy. It is simple, but it's not easy. The right mindset combined with the right strategy will help you to get further than either one of these two could alone. Now, the challenge to you, of course, is to, again, you can take out that piece of paper and choose one area of your life, whether it's business, finance, or personal. Build a 30-day action plan. Whatever goal you want to achieve, break it down and say, okay, in the next month, I'd like to be here. So build a 30-day action plan, right? Write that goal at the top of the page. As a subtitle, you can write out 30-day action plan, and then you can mark out the days, right? However many days March has, I think it's 31. You can put it in there to say by March 31st, this is what I will achieve, and I will get there by doing day 1. What's your 30-day action plan? Write it out. And here's the important piece to it. Once you write it out, track your progress and adjust along the way. Have a check-in every couple days or every week to make sure you're on track. So hopefully this was helpful for you. We talked about turning your vision into tangible results for you. Hopefully you take action, because if you don't, of course, nothing will be done. And this will just be another example of you over planning, but under executing. All right, Kadeem here, and I'll see you in the next one.